کہ ایسے پذیرائیں کس طرح سے تو بے پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تو بد بھی شکستہ ہے کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تو بد بھی شکستہ ہے برمضان محمد صلوات اللہ
بار دیگر نعرہ صلوات بلند آواز سے ایک بار پھر صلوات پڑھ دیجیے گا اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم طرح ہی سلام ہے فاطمہ راضی ہوں جس سے اس کی عزت کیجیے اسی والے سے ایک بار پھر درود پڑھ دیجیے گا اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم
آپ پہلے اپنے نفسوں کی طہارت کیجئے آپ پہلے اپنے نفسوں کی طہارت کیجئے بعد میں زہرا سے دعویٰ عقیدت کیجئے بعد میں زہرا سے دعویٰ عقیدت کیجئے روز شب زہرا کی ہر منکر پہ لعنت کیجئے روز شب زہرا کی ہر منکر پہ لعنت کیجئے کچھ ادا اس طرح بھی اجر رسالت کیجئے کچھ ادا اس طرح بھی اجر رسالت کیجئے مسجد تخیل میں عشق علی کی ہو اذان باجب نماز مدحت زہرا کی نیت کیجئے جب نماز مدحت زہرا کی نیت یا علی دست خدا مجھ پر عنایت کیجئے. ایک خیال ہے جو آپ تمام مومنین کی نظر ہے. روز محشر گر ہو دیدار علی کی آرزو، روز محشر گر ہو دیدار علی کی آرزو، زندگی میں قبر زہرا کی زیارت کیجئے. زندگی میں قبر زہرا کی زیارت کیجئے. دشمنی رکھتے ہیں جو بھی سیدہ کی آل سے، ارے آپ پر واجب ہے ایسوں سے عداوت کیجئے. آپ پر واجب ہے ایسوں سے عداوت کیجئے. اس کو نظروں سے گرا دیں جس سے وہ ناراض ہوں. اس کو نظروں سے گرا دیں جس سے وہ ناراض ہوں. فاطمہ راضی ہے جس سے اس کی عزت کیجئے. فاطمہ راضی ہے جس سے اس کی عزت کیجئے. جب گرا پہلو پہ دروازہ تو زہرا نے کہا، جب گرا پہلو پہ دروازہ تو زہرا نے کہا، اماں فضا آئیے بے کس کی نصرت کیجئے. وقت آخر فاطمہ سے رو کے کہتے تھے علی، کیوں کمر خم ہے بیاں اب اس کی عزت کیجئے. آتی رہیے گا اب حسنین میری قبر پر، اشکوں سے تحریر یہ میری وصیت کیجئے. مفتی کی زحمت ہے. کھینچ دے باقاعدہ تصویر مدحت کی نوید، کھینچ دے باقاعدہ تصویر مدحت کی نوید. سیدہ کم اہل پر اتنی عنایت کیجئے.
جس مصرع طرف نوید نے کلام پیش کیا سوسخانی میں، اسی کا دوسرا مصرع دیا تھا، وہی سلام جو ہے وہ جو میں نے کوشش کی تھی وہ پیش خدمت ہوگا. ایک صلوات پڑھ دیں محمد و آل محمد. ایمان کی تصویر نظر آتی ہے، ایمان کی تصویر نظر آتی ہے، قرآن کی تفسیر نظر آتی ہے. اللہ تیرے گھر کی فضا زہرا اللہ تیرے گھر کی فضا زہرا تطہیر ہی تطہیر نظر آتی ہے، تطہیر ہی تطہیر نظر آتی ہے، ایمان کی تصویر. ایک صلوات پڑھ دیں محمد و آل محمد. اسی آتے وقت ہی اس کی بندش جو ہے وہ تھوڑی کسی ایک سلام پہ کوشش کی کہ لگ جائے. یہ مصرع دیا تھا نسل محمدی کی ضمانت بطول ہیں، یہ پچھلے دسمبر میں جو ہے وہ ہمارے نوید بھائی کے گھر پہ محفل برپا ہوئی تھی، مجلس مسالمہ بیسیکلی. تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، کل پنجتن کا نقطہ وحدت بطول ہے، کل پنجتن کا نقطہ وحدت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، جو صرف مصطفیٰ
ایک وہ دولت بطول ہے، کونین میں بس ایک وہ دولت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، یوں ہی تو در پہ کرتے نہیں تھے نبی صلاح، اللہ کے رسول کی عزت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، جس کے لیے رسول بھی مسنا کو چھوڑ دے، جس کے لیے رسول بھی مسنا کو چھوڑ دے، کونین میں وہ صاحب عظمت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، یہ خطبہ بطول کا کہتا ہے لفظ لا، قرآن کی آیتوں کی بلاغت بطول ہے، قرآن کی آیتوں کی بلاغت بطول ہے، کہ بشر دیکھیے گا، پڑھتے ہیں بودراب بھی تسبیح فاطمہ، پڑھتے ہیں بودراب بھی تسبیح فاطمہ، گویا علی کی روح عبادت بطول ہے، گویا علی کی روح عبادت بطول ہے، کوثر کی آیتیں یہی کہتی ہوئی چلی، نسل محمدی کی ضمانت بطول ہے، نسل محمدی کی ضمانت بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے، ٹوٹی ہوئی ہے بس اس حال میں بھی محب عبادت بطول ہے، زخموں سے چور چور ہے، خون ہے روا مگر بن کر علی کی ڈھال سلامت بطول ہے، بن کر علی کی ڈھال سلامت بطول ہے۔ کیا فرق سامعین کی تعداد سے قمر، کیا فرق سامعین کی تعداد سے قمر، مجھ کو یقین ہے محو سماعت بطول ہے، مجھ کو یقین ہے محو سماعت بطول ہے۔ کل پنجتن کا نقطہ بیدار بطول ہے، تطہیر کی کمال طہارت بطول ہے۔ فاتحہ۔ دنیا سے آج رحلتے بنت رسول ہے، دست اجل میں عصمت کبریٰ کا پھول ہے، قبر نبی لرزتی ہے، یسرا ملول ہے، حسنین و مرتضی سے وداع بطول ہے، حسنین و مرتضی سے وداع بطول ہے، پٹی سے لا کے زینب و کلثوم روتی ہے، اس کم سنی میں بچیاں بے ماں کی ہوتی ہے، اس کم سنی میں بچیاں بے ماں کی ہوتی ہیں۔ زینب کا حال یہ ہے کہ آنسو تو ہیں رواں، کلثوم کو بھی دیتی ہیں پیغام تسلیاں، فرما رہی ہیں چھوٹی بہن سے کہ میری جان رہتی نہیں جہاں میں ہمیشہ کسی کی ماں، بے بستی ہم کو چھوڑ کے گریا چلی گئی، اللہ نے بلا لیا اماں چلی گئی، اللہ نے بلا لیا اماں چلی گئی۔ دنیا سے جب اتنے میں آئے پیٹے سر کو حسن حسن، اتنے میں آئے پیٹے سر کو حسن حسن، ماں سے لپٹ کے کہتے تھے دونوں بشورش، اماں اٹھاؤ سر کو کہ جان ہم کو نہیں پہلے ہی ہم دکھی ہیں نا ہم کو رولائیے ارے نانا کی طرح ہم کو نیوں چھوڑے جائی نانا کی طرح ہم کو نیوں چھوڑے جائی ماں سے لپٹ کے کرتے تھے حسنین جب یہ ناگاہ آئے روتے ہوئے شاہ مشرق دیکھا کہ غش فاطمہ زہرا کے نور دے کر دلاسا بچوں کو بولے شہ ہن پیاروں نہ رو صدا بطول کے رونے کی آتی ہے زہرا کو غسل دے چکی جب زینب حزین آ کر کفن پہنانے لگے بادشاہ جی آئے حسن حسین بھی روتے ہوئے ماں کے گلے لپٹ گئے دونوں وہ نازن ماں کے گلے لپٹ گئے دونوں اعجاز سے بطول نے دل کو سنبھال کر لے لی بلائے ہاتھ کفن سے نکال کر لے لی بلائے ہاتھ کفن سے نکال کر دنیا سے آج رحلتے بنت رسول ہے
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Indeed, it's an honor for us that Dr. Shaykh Abu Sumaya is with us. He's going to recite Majlise for 5 days, recite Masaib and Fazail Janabi Siddha Salamu alayha. We are very thankful to him that he accepted our request and is here for Khamsa Majlis. Now, please start salawat for his tawfiqat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I will request Maulana to please come to member. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من اللعين الغوي الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على خيرة خلق الله أجمعين وهو أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين وهو رحمة الله للعالمين وهو أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الميامين المهديين المقتولين المعصومين ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا وقعت الواقعة ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. It's an honor to return here again. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. May Allah bless the organizers and Samahat Sayyid and your community. You know, my connection with this subject of Fatimiya goes back a long time. I would say this intimate connection with subject of Fatimiya for me began as an undergraduate. In 2007 maybe. So it's been almost, I don't know how many years anyhow, a long time I've been studying on this subject. It began with reading Al-Sharif al-Murtada, reading the early sources of Islam, the early historical sources at the University of Toronto in the Department of Middle Eastern Studies. I then went on to read these sources for many years with Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi and other ulama in Najaf and in other places. I just became so interested with this subject as Sayyidah Zahra Salamullahi alayha becomes the very nexus upon which religious allegiance is decided. And that's why I began with this verse, وَإِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةِ لَيْسَ لِوَقْعَتِهَا كَاذِبَةٌ خَافِضَةٌ رَافِعَةٌ. Right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when the time comes, the day of judgment, the event, there's no denying it. And there are two kinds of people. There are two situations, خَافِضَةٌ رَافِعَةٌ. Some will be put down, some will be put up. And every time over the past 15 years in studying the issue of Fatimiya, whether it be in Najaf al-Ashraf, whether it be with the Orientalists or Mustashriqeen at the University of Toronto, whether it be with other scholars, and then I went on to write extensively on this subject. I wrote an MA thesis on this subject. I've presented at universities in the United States, in Europe, on this subject of Fatimiya, of Sayyidah Zahra. I come to one single conclusion each and every time. خَافِضَةٌ رَافِعَةٌ. That she becomes the very standard of who goes down and who goes up. إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ. She is the litmus test of this. Every time, in every study, in every way that I look at her life, especially in the moments after the death of the Prophet, but even before the death of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in both situations, alayha afdal salatu wassalam, she is the absolute embodiment of what we may understand to be khafidatun rafi'ah. That everything will either go up or down, up to heaven or down to hell. And this is one of the reasons why I embrace tashayyuh. I've been Muslim for 22, 23 years, long time. But People often ask me why. Why did I come to the path of Tashayyu? To be a Shia Ithna Ashari. And of course, Wilayat Amir al-Mu'mineen, succession, of course, Khilafat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is there, Imamat. But the one point that from then until now, that I could never stop seeking knowledge about, ila yawmina hadha, is the issue of Fatimiya and Aiyyame Fatimiya and the events relating to this issue. I remember meeting one of the very famous scholars at Harvard University. His name was the late Shahab Ahmad. I don't encourage people to go to read his books. I'm not promoting at all. But I remember meeting him, a famous Pakistani Sunni professor at Harvard. Many years ago, I think maybe 2008, I met him during the financial crisis, actually. I was there at Harvard. And I remember making an appointment to see Dr. Ahmad in his office. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Ahmad, I've been embarking on a study about the life of Fatima Zahra, and who is she, and how people can both love her and love the people that she hated. How? He looked at me and he said, there is no solution to this. It is an infinite contradiction. And that for me, these kinds of, I not only asked him, I asked another very famous historian as well about the same subject, and there was no real answer to it. It was just simply, it's just the way it is. So then I come to the verse of Surah Al-Hajj 46, فَإِنَّهَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. That it is not the eyes that are blind, but it is the heart that is blind from within. To understand who is Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. So we will, for 3 nights, discuss who she is, some of the ideas that have come from her with regards to Tawheed, Nabuwa, some of the incredible teachings that have come from Sayyidah Zahra or about Sayyidah Zahra. And then on night 4 and 5, we will speak very clearly about what is the position of other Muslims about her. What has been said about her, about that period between the death of the Prophet and her own death. We'll look at Ibn Sa'ad's Tabaqat, we'll look at Ibn Qutayba, we'll look at Ibn al-Ab al-Hadid al-Mu'tazili, we will look at other people like this. What have they had to say about her? What is their opinion about Fatima Zahra? Salamullahi alayha, especially regarding this issue. Then we will look at that as one mirror and look at the Shia position as another. And then Mu'mineen can determine and decide the image that they wish to accept without insulting anyone, without hurting, just what does the history tell us about this subject. This is important to understand. And I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that this is something that we must pass on to our children. We must. And I remember looking at a riwayah, I don't remember if it's in Al-Ihtijaj of Tabarsi, but the famous sermon of Fatima Zahra known as Al-Khutbah Al-Fadakiyya, the khutbah of Fadak, the Fadak sermon, where she goes into Medina, and we'll get to this in a very moment. But my point is that it was a sunnah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam to teach their daughters, especially this khutbah, and for them to memorize it. That it's one of the practices of the Shia, and especially those from Banu Hashim, to know the contents of this sermon. And the women from Banu Hashim, from Ahlul Bayt, were the ones who continued the transmission and the naql of this khutbah. And the primary transmitter of this, there are many, but it is Zainab bint Ali salamullahi alayha. We know this based on both Sunni and Shia reports. It is Zainab salamullahi alayha at that age who bears witness to what her mother did. This is a very important historical point, Mu'mineen. That already at that very young age, she was already seeing what it means to speak truth to power, to stand against dhulm, but not only to stand against dhulm, but to understand, to begin to understand the depth of the intellect and the sublime intellect of her mother. Why? Look at just one statement that Sayyidah Zahra says in this khutbah. Just one statement today. وَأَنَارَ فِي التَّفَكُّرِ مَعْقُولُهَا. She's talking about kalima la ilaha illallah. And she says that the tafakkur, that through thinking about la ilaha illallah, the intellects are illuminated. Anara. Fil tafakkur ma'kuluha. Or ma'kulaha. That the intellect, that if you just think about la ilaha illallah, imagine, why is she beginning a khutbah about the haqq of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Her haqq of her irth and her inheritance and the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, was beginning by saying, if you don't understand la ilaha illallah, you don't understand who we are. Why? Mu'mineen, why? Why is she emphasizing وَأَنَارَ فِي التَّفَكُّرِ مَعْقُولُهَا? That if we think about la ilaha illallah, and if the mind is truly enlightened by la ilaha illallah, then whatever I'm about to say will be accepted. But the root of the problem is their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That what she's trying to tell us, as Allah says, وَمَن يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ, that there are those that worship just the external, or عَلَى شَكٍ. There are those who only see the external. She wants to go to the internal, inside our hearts. She's telling those people that you have not understood la ilaha illallah. You've not understood what the implications of la ilaha illallah. You have not understood what the iltizamat of la ilaha illallah is, what the requirements of la ilaha illallah is. If you did, then you would come to know that obedience to us is what determines the acceptance of la ilaha illallah. But they did not make, what she was saying here is basically, do not think that the light of God is just what you see in the universe. For example, there's a tradition of Amir al-Mu'mineen, narrated in the books of Ahlul Sunnah, but it is a very beautiful tradition and it makes sense. He was once asked about the existence of Allah. He was asked, what is creation? He says it is the dust in the air that only becomes visible when the light of Allah strikes it. إِذَا يَتَوَقَّعُ نُورَ اللَّهِ. Meaning our hearts are not existent really until the light of Allah strikes it. And she's saying that the light of Allah to strike our heart depends on the acceptance of la ilaha illallah. But the gate of la ilaha illallah, the door to la ilaha illallah, has conditions to it. This is Sayyidah Zahra. This is not some political campaign speech. This is a speech about the highest levels of marifat. There's no higher level marifat. I would compare this to khutbah al-ula of Nahj al-Balagha of Amir al-Mu'mineen, where he speaks about waladin ma'rifatuhu. Amir al-Mu'mineen, what does he say in the first khutbah that Sharif al-Radi has compiled? waladin ma'rifatuhu. That the first element of deen is a marifat of Allah. This is exactly what Sayyidah Zahra is bringing, and that's why there has never been any daylight, there has never been any gap between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidah Zahra. Salaamu alayha. And that's why what she is reminding us, that Ya ayyuhal insan, oh human beings, do you know the honor of being a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That what does it mean to be a servant of God, to be a slave of Allah? Why does she spend so much time at the beginning all speaking about these issues? Why? What is the objective here? After Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, why get to all these points? Mu'mineen, if we want to understand anything from the life of Sayyidah Zahra, It is she is not interested in what we show on the outside. She's interested in the way we think. She wanted to influence the way people think about Allah. That if they really contemplate over their existence, where they have come from, and the ni'mah that is in front of them, and who is the daughter of that greatest ni'mah, then they will understand what their obligations are. But they do not understand their obligations to Allah. Their obligations to kalima la ilaha illallah. And if they don't understand their obligations to kalima la ilaha illallah, to there is no God but Allah, then they will not understand their obligations to Muhammad Rasulullah wa aliyun waliullah. They will not be able to understand, or they will willfully neglect and be in a state of ghafla and jahl about it, of heedlessness and willful ignorance about it. Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam had a very beautiful practice and habit. Do you want to know what it is? This is after years of just thinking about the khutub of Ahlul Bayt and the kalam of Ahlul Bayt, especially Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidah Zahra, salamullahi alayha, and Sayyidah Zainab, all of them. But they get straight to the point. And they point out the root cause of the problem. Instead of saying someone can't breathe because they have chronic bronchitis, they'll tell them, well, it's the tobacco or whatever that they're doing that is the cause of it. They're not interested in treating this chronic bronchitis or the CP. No. They're saying the root of it is your aqidah is not salima. Your beliefs are not strong. Your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not correct. There's mashakil and problems and shukuk and raib in your aqidah, in your belief. That all of this comes down to the problem of external Islam that is not a lived Islam in the heart. That people may have accepted La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah externally, zahiran, i'lanan. But why does she point again and again to the heart? وَدُّمِنَ الْقُلُوبِ مَوْصُولُهَا. And if we really think about La ilaha illallah, the heart is made in such a way that she says it is guaranteed to enter it. دُمِنَ الْقُلُوبِ مَوْصُولُهَا. That there will be a connection between La ilaha illallah and the heart. But that heart first must be in the obedience to Allah. And the door to that obedience is none other than through the wilayah of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. So there are three themes that come up in the beginning of this sermon, among many other things. Tawheed as a belief. Second, the heart as the seat of the soul that accepts La ilaha illallah in here, the kalima of the shahada. And number three, when we think about this, when we begin to think, what is my obligation to Allah, to the statement that there is no God but God, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah la aliyul azim. When we begin to contemplate over what is our obligation to this, anara, right? The tafakkur becomes illuminated now. And the intellect becomes illuminated. That a light begins to glow in the heart of the believer. And without that light, they cannot be guided. They can have all the external Islam in front of them, meaning the claims that, oh, I'm a Muslim, I'm this, give bay'ah, this, go and shake Amir al-Mu'mineen's hand and all that, bakhan, ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. That's all meaningless. It's all meaningless if that individual has not truly submitted to Allah in their kalam and their af'al and a'mal, in their words and their deeds and their actions. This is what she's saying. We wonder why talqeen is so important. Do brothers mu'mineen know the meaning of talqeen? Laqana, yulaqinu, talqina. It means tafheem. Fahama yufahimu, tafhim means to inject understanding, to instill understanding, to inspire understanding. It's not fahm, it's tafheem. Why do we require talqeen of La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah wa aliyun waliyullah and the imamat of each imam? And that the ma'ad is haqq and the sirat is haqq and so on and so forth. Why? Why? Why do we require talqeen? It's deep. This is exactly what Sayyidina Zahra is saying. That until the heart submits to Allah through the door of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, there cannot be tafheem. The heart cannot accept it. Talqeen is a very important concept. Why do we do talqeen for the mayyit? We're hoping that they don't only say La ilaha illallah, but they have tafheem of La ilaha illallah. Deep understanding that this ilm is that there's ruzuq in this ilm. This ilm is thabit, it's firm. This is what she is telling the Muslim community. And there are different levels of this understanding of La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah wa aliyun waliyullah. There's different levels of the understanding and even of the tafheem. As Imam Sadiq salamullahi alayhi says, Al-Iman ashru darajatin. We won't go through all of that. We're not talking about all of this. But he says that Iman has 10 levels. فالمقداد في ثامنة وأبو ذر في تاسعة والسلمان في العاشرة. Miqdad is in the 8th level, Abu Dhar is in the 9th level, and Salman is in the 10th level of Iman. If Salman is in the 10th level, then what is the level of Amir al-Mu'mineen? What is the level of Fatima Zahra? Why is it that Salman becomes the witness to the musibat of Fatima Zahra? Isn't it not? Why was Salman chosen for this by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And if Salman is in the 10th level of Iman, that means there's nothing higher. That's why if Abu Dhar knew what was in the heart of Salman, he would kill him, or kafarahu, or qatalahu. Because even Abu Dhar could not handle what is in the heart of Salman. But Salman was chosen to be the shahid of the musibah of Fatima Zahra. Why? What was the qalb of Salman? What was the understanding and the tafheem of Salman? If this is the level of Salman, then what is the level of the mistress and the master that she was serving? That he was serving, which is Sayyidina Zahra. He was a khadim to Sayyidina Zahra. We know this. None of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen had this honor. None! Illa Salman. Only Salman was given this very, very, very special honor. Beyond the honor of all of the ashab of Maulana Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah. Among the men. The women are separate. We'll talk about that later, another night. Because his heart was illuminated by La ilaha illallah. He understood that the manifestation of the majesty of Allah is in that Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen. That the meaning of her being the woman of all of existence, just like her father is the mercy, Rahmatan lil Alameen, she is a Sayyidah to the worlds, to existence. He understood this, that there can be no understanding of La ilaha illallah without her. There can be no tafheem of tawheed without her. There can be no acceptance of tawheed without her. Why was he chosen? This is a great thing to think about, Mu'mineen. Why Salman? What was his level? What was his depth of understanding of the ajaib and the asrar of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad? What was he initiated into? What was the special knowledge that was given to him? There's many traditions about this, but the point is that our hearts are dead until Allah gives it light. Huwa yuhyi wa yumit. And this heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, my dear brothers, it has so many ajaib, so many mysteries and incredible things. It beats, I'm just looking at the statistics here, 100,000 times per day, the physical heart. Do you know that? The physical heart beats 100,000 times in a day. And in an average lifetime, the physical heart beats 3 billion times. If that is the physical qalb, then what is the qalb that Allah is referring to in the Quran? What is the heart that is illuminated by La ilaha illallah? If this is the miracle of the physical heart, just this physical organ, then what is the heart that Sayyidah Zahra is referring to? وَدُمِنَ الْقُلُوبَ مَوْصُولُهَا. That the word of La ilaha illallah, it's made in such a way, and the hearts are made in such a way that it can receive it. What is the heart of insan? This is what Sayyidah Zahra is pointing again and again and again to us, that we have to think about who is لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. Why has Allah honored us? Why has Allah given us existence? As Allah says in the Quran, He created us with His 2 hands. Not literal, of course, the Jamal and the Jalal, the Qudra, of the majesty, it's the attributes of Allah. And of course, not literally, of course, it's majaz, we know this. But why would Allah say this? That He created us with His 2 hands. Again, not literally, mu'mineen, of course. There's a Quran that's giving a metaphor. It's because no one has been honored like the human being. And what Sayyidah Zahra is telling us, that how could we waste our life on anything but our ultimate purpose for our existence and wujud in this dunya? That anything else is a waste. So again, coming back to the root of the problem, she was denied her right, Amir al-Mu'mineen was denied his right. Yes or no? Yes. She came out to speak because of this issue. Right? The riwayah says she came out to speak. She put on her turban. In those days, women had a style of a turban with her face veil. She had a partition between her and the men. She began to speak and they began to cry. It's also a very interesting point. And right, and the riwayah says that she walked, her mashiyah was like the mashiyah of Rasulullah, right? That she walked like Rasulullah walked. Just like when Sayyidah Zainab was speaking in Kufa, her speech was like the speech of Amir al-Mu'mineen, such that the Rawi thought that Amir al-Mu'mineen was in Kufa, but of course Amir al-Mu'mineen had passed away. Likewise, when Sayyidah Zahra was walking to Masjid al-Nabi, it was as if the Prophet was walking to Masjid al-Nabi again. Right? The daughter and mother have many similarities. What is the point? She gives this speech, but the most of the speech is about aqaid. There's only a few lines actually about the issue of the earth. Not that much. There's so much about aqaid and iman and nabuwa and tawheed, on and on. Oh, it's a lesson in aqaid, really a lesson in what we have to believe as mu'mineen. Why? Because if we don't know how to think, we will not be able to differentiate between haqq and batil. She didn't want to tell people simply that this is haqq and this is batil. She wanted them to come to this conclusion on their own. Because the intelligent mu'min is the one who can come to their own conclusion, to do istinbatul amr, to derive the evidence, to look at the evidences and to come to a natijat and a conclusion. There's a beauty and an art in why she composes her sermon in this way. There's a depth to it that will take, that we cannot ever understand. But the point of the matter again here, my dear brothers and sisters, that if this heart is left unchecked, if this heart that Allah has put within us is left unchecked, it can end up in crisis. It can end up in illness. Just like diabetes. What happens if someone leaves their diabetes unchecked? It's called diabetic retinopathy, right? What is that? Blindness due to diabetes. Because they just let the sugar go out of control. They don't control their sugar, they don't take steps to stop the problem of high glucose and glycemic load and insulin, all the insulin resistance and all of these things. They don't do exercise, they don't control their diet, they don't maybe take their medicine, they don't make the lifestyle changes that they have to make in order to fight insulin resistance. What happens? Eventually they go blind. If we don't take the steps, or if insan rather, human beings in general, not us, human beings in general don't take the steps to understanding what is their obligations to Allah, to live a life of those obligations, to make the necessary sacrifices in that life, to know that this life that we live will require sacrifices. And they have to make those sacrifices for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for Sayyidah Zahra, not for Sahib al-Zaman, not for Rasulullah. What does Sayyidah Zahra say? If you're going to do it, am tukhafunahum, am tukhafun Allah. Do you fear them or do you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? She never asked the people to fear her. Never. Ahlul Bayt was not about putting themselves at the center. La ilaha illallah is at the center. It's not about Ahlul Bayt. This is why, my dear mu'minun, my dear fellow Ahlul Wila and Wilaya, we have to understand this is the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt are not there to create some kind of cult of hero worship. We love them and submit to them and do taslim to them because they put La ilaha illallah at front and center. Wa awwal wal akhir. Everything is a submission to Allah and the submission to His Messenger. Sayyidah Zahra teaches us this is the message we should deliver to the people. Those who have misunderstandings of what tashayyuh is, of what the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, what is the seerah of Ahlul Bayt, what is their teachings, what is the teaching of Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen, what is her ultimate teachings? Is everything returns to God. Anna Allah yuhulu bayn al-mar'i wa qalbi. That God truly hovers between a man and his heart. And to Him we return. That this heart is like the black stone that fell from the sky and the Hajar al-Aswad that was put into the Kaaba. This heart is like that piece of divine majesty that exists within us. And without understanding La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah wa aliyun waliyullah, this heart can never have light. Cannot be illuminated, it's not possible. And then it becomes something truly mysterious, truly incredible. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali. Think of this for a moment before I move on. Who's interested in physics here? Maybe somebody likes to study the stars, physics. There's a concept called a black hole. Who's ever heard of the black hole concept here? Black hole. We have a lot of youth here. Maybe you're interested in astronomy, right? Black hole. In the black hole, there's a concept called the event horizon. This is the point at which light cannot escape, because something would have to be faster than the speed of light in order to escape it. It's basically like there's no rim to a black hole, but if you think a black hole has a rim, this is called the event horizon. Basically, after this point, we don't know anything that happens. We cannot access it because it would have, in order for light it would have to be faster than the speed of light in order to escape. This is the event horizon of a black hole. I'm not a physicist, but I really am interested in astronomy and physics. I'm interested as a hobby. The heart of insan is like the event horizon. It captures everything. It records, everything is recorded within it. Everything. That's why Allah has appointed the two angels to record everything. Record. Whatever we do is recorded. It's so miraculous because we're in this world, but yet we have a piece of the unseen world within us. It's a meeting point between mulk and malakut. Alam al-mulk and alam al-malakut. And the prize of this heart, for it to be illuminated, for it to be healthy, for it to be in a state of purity, of thought and mind and body and everything, it needs to understand that first it submits to God and only to God. But God is so merciful, so beautiful. And he was Jamal, right? Huwa Jameel wa yuhibbu Jamal. He's the beauty and he's beautiful and loves beauty. Why? Because the only thing that can erase things from that heart is God. وَكُلُّ سَيِّئَةٍ أَمَرْتَ بِإِثْبَاتِهَا كِرَامُ الْكَاتِبِينَ. Right? And Allah says that every bad deed you have, right? Rather, Imam Ali tells us that everything is written. We read in Dua Kumail. And you made them shuhudan alayhi ma'a jawarihi. And you put these angels as witnesses, right? Recording. If we sin, if we lie, God forbid, do ghiba, God forbid, miss our salah intentionally, God forbid, on and on and on, right? It's recorded. We read in Dua Kumail every Thursday, we know. وَأَنْتَ الرَّقِيبُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرَائِهِمْ. But oh Allah, you are the one observing them. وَشَاهِدْ لِمَا خَفِيَ عَنْهُمْ. And you are the witness of what is hidden from the angels. Meaning, Allah has created that heart and He can erase anything on that heart. Meaning, however far we may think we are away from La ilaha illallah, an understanding of La ilaha illallah, of obedience to Allah and His Messenger, Allah can erase the past and give us a new present. Only Allah can do that. Jalla Jalaluhu. Only Allah. And that's what Sayyidah Zahra is saying, that if only we understand, she's begging, she's pleading with the mu'mineen, pleading with those people who were there. Many of them were not mu'minun, unfortunately, but nevertheless, that's something else. Pleading with the Muslims, shall we say, to please think about this, to ponder over where you have gone wrong. That only the one who doesn't know their Lord will commit this dhulm to her. Only the one who doesn't understand the implications of believing in God, submitting to God, loving God, will do what they are doing now, which is usurping the right from the one who Allah has given that right to. So the point is not about just simply pointing out the crime, but pointing out the entire mental state that led up to that crime. It's a complete forensic analysis from its beginning to its end. Who but Sayyidah Zahra could do this and speak to men 3 times her age? Right? She was what, 18, 20? She was very young. How old were the men there, sitting there? And a woman of all in that time. Thus we understand why one of those individuals, one of those people said, Ma lana lil nisa, right? That when they came to hit her and hurt her, as the traditions tell us, he says, Ma lana lil nisa, we have nothing to do with women. That they were so ignorant, so angry, so full of hatred, so full of jahal, so full of barbarism, so full of nonsense and just complete foolishness. that they had no response but to say, Ma lana lin nisa, what do we have anything to do with women? Haqq is haqq. Whether it's from a man or a woman is immaterial. But only the truly ignorant, barbaric, insecure man or human being would respond in this way. She took their manhood away from them. That's why. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. She's saying, if you are a man, then show us that you fear Allah and obey my husband. If you are a man. That's what she was saying. Essentially, this was, I write in my work that this was actually a complete condemnation of whatever they thought it meant to be a masculine man in Arabia. You think they wouldn't get angry? This would not provoke a response? Oh, it did. Remember, one of the men who was being spoken to wanted to kill his own sister for becoming Muslim. If he would threaten to kill his own sister who didn't even do anything to him, just becoming a Muslimah, what would he do to the one who's insulting her with haqq, with kalam of Allah, not with fadayah or bad language, na'udhu billah, of course not, with la ilaha illallah, with Muhammad Rasulullah, with wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, with ayat of Quran? What would he do? Just think of the psychological profile of this individual. His narcissism, his anger problem, his bughd. She became that first object and subject or victim of violence against women. Of the most terrible kind of violence, because a man like him was so insecure in his faith and his understanding of Iman and Haqq and Aqa'id that he couldn't accept what is being said to her. And he admits it. He says this on many times. He lets the al-haq yajri min lisan al-adu, that the truth even comes from the tongue of the enemy of Allah. Right? Out of anger, he said certain things that now show what is behind the tongue. He's just going back to the way the Jahil Arabs knew how to handle situations, which is with their fist. Because these people did not know how to handle the world except with the fist. This is not the Islam that Sayyidah Zahra has brought. The Islam of Sayyidah Zahra is one of silm. It's one of tafakkur. It's one of basirat. It's one of hikmah. It's of wisdom, insight, light, thinking. Let's sit and have a conversation about this. Their idea was one of violence. Is that the fault of Islam? Is that the fault of Quran? Is that the fault of the Nabi? Is that the fault of Ahlul Bayt? No. That's human beings, a nafs amaratu bisu. That is the nafs, when it is not in control, it goes out of control. Al-ghadab min ash-shaytan, as the Prophet says. وَالشَّيْطَانِ يَجْرِي فِي دَمْ بَنِي آدَمَ. That anger is from shaitan, and shaitan flows in the blood of the son of Adam. This is the manifestation of a shaitan yajri fi dam bani Adam. Look at what she says about her father. We have a lot more to say over the nights. She says, اختارهم قبلا أرسله. Remember, she doesn't talk about herself in this khutbah. She only mentions perhaps one thing. We'll get to it later, another night. She speaks about her father. She says, and he was chosen before he was sent. And he was named before he was selected. وَسَمَّاهُ قَبْلًا اجْتِبَاهُ وَاسْتَفَاهُ قَبْلًا ابْتَعَثَهُ. And he was given this istifa, he was given this special status and this special chosenness before even he was sent as a prophet. So there's not this idea that he became a prophet at 40, that he was na'udhu billah, jahil and illiterate and this and that. She said, istafahu qabla an ibta'athahu. He was chosen before he was even dispatched, before the ba'tha. There's none of this nonsense, illiteracy, or he was, na'udhu billah, wanted to jump off the mountain and all of these things, which other people narrate. That when he received the revelation, he was doubting and having what this and wanted to... Be careful the videos we show our children, because in some of these videos, these are the stories that are in there about our Prophet, and we don't accept these stories. فأنار الله بأبي محمد ظلمها وكشف عن القلوب همها وجل عن الأبصار غممها. And she says that Allah illuminated through my father, that whatever darkness was there, it was given light. Whatever shackles that were on the heart, bahmaha, يعني المشكلات من الأمور, whatever problems people had in their hearts, these problems were solved with the light of my father. وَجَلَّ عَنَ الْأَبْصَارِ غَمَمَهَا. And whatever blindness were on the eyes, they were now given light to my father. She's reminding them, my dear mu'mineen, my dear brothers and sisters, she's reminding them of what happens when they leave the path of the prophets. She's reminding them that he has come to bring light into your hearts, and today you have gone back to darkness and dhulm. He has come to solve your problems and you are making more problems. He has come to give you peace, yet you are making war. If you want peace, you follow us. If you want the Islam of silm and haqq, you follow us. Yet we read that when she went to the Arabs in Medina, she went to them and said that the first Khalifa, who they claim as and appoint as the first Khalifa, قَدْ غَصَبَنِي عَلَيْهِ فَدَكْ. He took away fadak from me. Do you know what the response was to her of Mu'adh ibn Jabal? So she comes to him. Imagine her courage. After all this, she comes to him, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, and others. Tonight I'll just narrate this to you. She comes to Mu'adh ibn Jabal and she says to him, this is what has happened. Are you going to stand with me? You promised the Prophet that you would stand with us. You promised him, and she reminds him that of his promise. He says, فَمَعِي غَيْرِي? Is there anyone other than me? قَالَتْ لَا وَمَا أَجَابَنِي أَحَدٌ. And no one responded to me. Because he says, I don't want to be alone. He denied her haqq because he was a coward. That meaning, my point is, what kind of men are these? What kind of men are these? These are thiqat. These are supposed to be all udul. You know, my dear brothers, I was thinking as I was coming here what to recite about Sayyidah Zahra, salamullahi alayha. And my heart went to Karbala. And I began thinking how many times we remember Sayyidah Zahra in the event of Karbala. How many times, how much poetry, how many riwayat we have about her and the event of Karbala. We read in a riwayah from Sayyid ibn Tawus, the Sayyidah Sakina, when she was in prison, she says, رَأَيْتُ إِمْرَأَةً رَاكِبَةً, that I saw a woman riding towards me. And her hand was on her head. Think about this, mu'mineen. She says, I ran to her, وَوَقَفْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا, and I stood in front of her. But Sayyidah Sakina wasn't sure who was this woman. Who was this lady in front of her? وَقِيلَ لِي هَذِهِ فَاطِمَةُ بِنْتُ مُحَمَّدٍ. And it was told to her that this is Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad. Abik, the mother of your father, your grandmother. She says, I stood in front of her and I began to cry. Abki. And I began to yell, Ya Amma, Ya Amma. Ya Amma jahadu wallahi haqqana. That, oh, our mother, wallah, they have taken away our right. They have fought against our rights. Ya Amma badadu wallahi shimlana. They have destroyed our family. Ya Amma istabahu wallahi harimana. And oh, our mother, they have allowed and made istibahat of our blood. That the hurmat of Ahlul Bayt, the hurmat of the face of Ahlul Bayt, of the ru'us and the heads of the women of Ahlul Bayt has now been made mubah for them. That they are Ahlul Haram, Harim, meaning those who are protected mu'mineen, those who you cannot look at, you cannot see them except the maharim. This is a deep harimuna, meaning haram, meaning they're kept inside. You do not see them without the hijab. You do not see them because they're from the haram. It's like a sanctuary. She's saying, but they have done istibah of this. They are trying to make this mubah for them to see. The Arabic language is very deep. The musibah is in the lugha itself, mu'mineen. Ya Amma qatalu wallahi al-Husayn abana. Oh, our mother, they have killed our Hussein. That they have not only insulted our hurmat, they have killed our Hussein. قالت لي كف بصوتك يا سكينة. She says, oh Sakina, lower your voice. قد قطعت نيات قلبي. That my heart is broken when you tell me this. And then she says, هذا قميص أبيك. This is the shirt of your father. In some riwayat, in other riwayat, when it talks about shirt, it says مدمخا بدمه, right? That the shirt is dripping with the blood of Hussein ibn Ali. She says, هذا قميص أبيك. This is the shirt of your father, and I will not part with this until I meet Allah. حتى ألقى الله به. Until I meet Allah with the bloody shirt of Hussein ibn Ali, of my son Hussein. Can we imagine? You know, there is an entire bab in Arbab al-Maqatil and ahadith about the role of Fatima Zahra on Yawm al-Qiyamah. إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةِ, right? That when that waqi'ah happens, what will be the role of Fatima Zahra on that day? هَذَا قَمِيصُ أَبِيكَ الْحُسَيْنِ. This is the shirt of your father Hussein ibn Ali. That the qamis of Hussein will have a role to play on that day of judgment, on the day of the waqa'at al-waqi'ah. That when the event happens, the shirt of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam will come onto the plains of the day of judgment. Fatima Zahra will be carrying it. Why? Because we read, Ya Zahra, As-salamu ala waladaki al-Husayn, al-manhuri fil wara. Peace be upon you, O Zahra, on your son, who was slaughtered in the public, al-manhur fil wara, as we read in Ziyarat al-Nahiya al-Muqaddasa, the one whose throat was killed, whose throat was sliced fil wara, in public, in front of the people. How will the insan answer for this? How will the zalimeen answer for this? How will the munafiqeen answer for this? They will have to look at the shirt of Hussein ibn Ali on Yawm al-Qiyamah, mudamikhan bidami'i, dripping with his blood, being held by his mother on that day. Al-awwaleen wal-akhareen are gathered. Allah will order a crier to call out. Nada munadun. The crier will call out. Ghaddu absarakum. Lower your eyes. Why? A woman A woman is walking on the sirat. In her hand is the qameez of Hussein ibn Ali. She will then see the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She will take this shirt and put it onto the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala la'natullahi ala qawmin zalimeen. Matum Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ اور کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے ہائے ہائے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے پہلو بھی دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی کس طرح سے ڈوبی بھی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تو روتی رہی گھر میں حیدر سے بھی چھپ چھپ کے عصمت کی تہادو بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے کچھ درد تیرے بی بس جان کی فضا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریکی میں جو اٹھے بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بشتا ہے. مرہم پھر زخموں کا بھی نہ ملا تک، اولاد امیہ کی باقی ہے جفا تک. رونے پہ بھی پہرا تھا، تربات پہ بھی پہرا ہے، پہر بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے. یا حسین
فاطمہ زہرا، 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 فاطمہ زہرا. دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی زہرا، بر 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 دربار میں سب مل کے کھڑی زہرا، بر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی زہرا، بر دربار میں نہ جانے کس طرح، نہ جانے کس طرح حق مانگتی رہی زہرا، بر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی 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 زہرا، بر دربار میں نہ جانے کس طرح، نہ جانے کس طرح حق مانگتی رہی زہرا، بر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی زہرا، بر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی
کے ٹکڑے ہوا میں اڑا کے ہنسنے لگا، رسول زادی سے گستاخ ایسے کہنے لگا، بتا وہ کون سی، بتا وہ کون سی جاگیر ہے تیری، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، زہرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، زہرا بھر دربار میں، حسن حسین سے سچے گواہ بھی جھٹ لائے، رلا کے بی بی کو ظالم ذرا نہ شرمائے، بھلا نہ پائے گی، بھلا نہ پائے گی امت کی بے رخی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، 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 ذرا بھر دربار میں، یہ اس کی بیٹی ہے جس نے دولت چاند کیا، وہ جس کے نور نے ہر روشنی کو مار کیا، اسے ستانا، اسے ستانا دکھیاری ہے بڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں، نہ جانے کس طرح، نہ جانے کس طرح حق مانگتی رہی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا بھر دربار میں، نبی کے بعد یہ کیا ہو گیا زمانے کو، کیوں کلمہ گو ہے چلے ہیں رگڑ جلانے کو، سہے گی کس طرح، سہے گی کس طرح امت کی یہ رخی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، 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 ذرا بھر دربار میں، سیاہ بال جو ماں کے سفید تر دیکھے، فقیر کیسے کہوں میں پیوں نے سر پیٹے، گئی تھی کس طرح، گئی تھی کس طرح، ہائے تھکی تھکی، ذرا بھر دربار میں روتی رہی کھڑی، ذرا रोती रही खड़ी ज़हरा भर दरबार में। न जाने के तरह, न जाने के तरह हक मांगती रही ज़हरा भर दरबार में। रोती रही
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاضلة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب. السلام عليكم حضر عباس بن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أئمة الهدى علي بن الحسين محمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى محمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد الحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب رسول الزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريق القرآن، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسأل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى يكون طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.